Famine has been officially confirmed in Gaza City and its surrounding areas. A UN-backed food security body, the IPC, said nearly a quarter of Palestinians in Gaza are experiencing famine, with that figure likely to rise within weeks. Israel dismissed the claims as Hamas propaganda. Viewers may find some images in this report distressing.
At Gaza's Nasser hospital, today's announcement comes as little surprise. Dr. Aid Khalaf says he sees about 60 cases a day related to paediatric malnutrition. But he says a lack of medical supplies leaves doctors unable to provide much help. Confirmation of famine in Gaza City by the UN-backed monitoring group, the IPC, was followed up with a prediction that famine conditions would spread to other parts of the enclave by the end of next month.
It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. It is a famine that hits the most vulnerable first, each with a name, each with a story, that strips people of dignity before it strips them of life.
Described by international leaders as a man-made disaster, a moral indictment and a failure of humanity, talk of famine in Gaza was dismissed by Israel as an outright lie, with the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying the IPC had ignored recent humanitarian steps by Israel. Another point of disagreement in a conflict that shows no sign of easing. As people continue to pour out of Gaza City, fleeing the latest Israeli offensive, but knowing that wherever they go, the danger will follow. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News.
Well, shortly before we came on air, I spoke to UNICEF spokesperson Tess Ingram, who's in Gaza. She began by telling me today's report is confirmation of something aid agencies have been warning about for months now.
This is our worst fears being realised. As you say, we've been warning about this for months, trying to prevent it from getting to this catastrophic level of a famine. And yet here we are, because the needed aid hasn't reached vulnerable children and families across the Gaza Strip. This is a catastrophe, and it threatens to get worse and spread from Gaza City to the middle area of Gaza in the coming weeks if the situation remains the same or escalates, which it is at strong risk of doing because of the imminent threat of an escalation in the military offensive in Gaza City.
Can you describe what conditions are like for families, for children that you're dealing with at the moment?
I've spent the last 2 days in nutrition points in the middle area in Deir al-Balah, where it's at severe risk of famine spreading to that place. And seeing what I've seen there, I'm shocked. I've never seen cases of malnutrition like it at that scale and of that severity. I met parents who were holding my hands crying in desperation, not knowing how to save their children, including one mother who is 7 months pregnant and has a 1-year-old. She is malnourished and at risk of losing the baby, and the 1-year-old is incredibly sick, and she doesn't know what to do. She's faced with a choice of going on bed rest to save her unborn child or continuing to try and find food or water to protect her son. No parent should be faced with such a choice, and she is just one of many families who are suffering in Gaza at the moment.
So how much aid is getting in?
We're seeing only dozens of UN trucks getting in when we need to see at least 500 to 600 trucks a day. That's what we say we need to meet people's basic needs. And the last time we achieved that was the ceasefire, when we really were able to make a dent in the situation, reduce rates of malnutrition. But since then, it has skyrocketed. We've gone from just over 2,000 children with malnutrition in February to over 12,000 in July alone. And that threatens to get worse if we don't get more aid into the Gaza Strip.
Do you see today's finding by the IPC having any effect or any influence on the Israeli government?
I think the world needs to receive this report with sadness and anger. It really is a shame on all of us that we have allowed the situation to get to this point. And I do hope that it provides a catalyst for world leaders to finally find a way to address this situation. The best way to do that, of course, is a ceasefire. That is what we need more than anything. But failing that, we need to see more aid enter the Gaza Strip, and we can do that by getting more crossings into the Gaza Strip open and improving the operating conditions on the ground so that the UN can do its job.
All right, Tess Ingram, thanks for joining us on 6-1.